our duty to learn the various ways we can help in preserving the wetlands so that we can help in healing the earth. World's Wetland Day is celebrated annually on 2nd February, which aims to raise global awareness about the vital role of wetlands for people and planet. This day also marks the day of adoption of the Convention on Wetlands on 2nd Feb 1971 in the Iranian city of Ramsar. This year's theme is It's Time for Wetlands Restoration, which highlights the urgent need to prioritize wetland restoration. Nearly 90% of the world's wetlands have been degraded since the 1700s, and we are losing wetlands 3 to 4 times faster than the forest. Yet, wetlands are critically important ecosystems that contribute to biodiversity, climate mitigation and adaptation, freshwater availability, world economies, and many more. It is urgent that we raise national and global awareness about wetlands in order to reverse their rapid loss and encourage actions to conserve and restore them. World's Wetland Day is the ideal time to increase people's understanding of these critically important ecosystems. Now, it is my privilege to invite Professor Dr. Tanu Jindal, Group Additional Pro Vice Chancellor R&D, Amity University, and Director of Amity Institute of Environmental Toxicology, Safety and Management, to highlight Amity environmental initiatives. Professor Jindal is a renowned environmentalist, educationist, and scientist with over 25 years of experience. She has completed 12 projects and 9 patents with various national and international funding in Antarctica, ocean, river and groundwater, air, land pollution, and toxicology studies. She and her students have been awarded many times from the American Chemical Society meetings. She has traveled extensively across the globe, presenting over 120 papers in prestigious conferences. She has several publications in referred journals and 6 books to her credit. She is a fellow of National Environmental Science Academy and has been conferred Scientist and Environmentalist Award. Professor Jindal is a green ambassador and follows passion of protecting the planet through environmental education and research. She is contributing towards R&D in all campuses of Amity. Welcome, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Jaiti, for setting the tone of the day and for such a generous introduction. You have rightly said that World Wetland Day is very important, and the topic which we have chosen is sustainable systems to conserve wetlands is also very important in aligning with SDG goals. I would like to highlight, I would speak, I have been given 15 minutes, and I would like to highlight Amity environmental initiatives in the first part, and then little bit on the World Wetland Day. And further, I'm looking forward to hear our NMN dignitaries, Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh, Dr. Rajesh Dhankar, Mr. Tarun Kathula, Dr. Abhilesha Bhaswar, and Dr. Surbhi Mehrotra. With the vision of Honorable Founder President, we have Amity Education Group with 12, and we are science and technology innovation driven university. We have projects from almost every funding agency over 300 crores, and from Ministry of Environment, Forest, DST, CSIR, DBT, ICMR, ICR, DRDO, even international funding agencies like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, USAID, etc. And our laboratories are equipped with all the facilities, for example, GC, HPLC, AAS, FTIR, electron microscope, you name the equipment, we have well-equipped laboratories in all the areas. Amity is the university which is second after IIT to file patents. Over 1,600 patents have been filed. With Amity, we have Amity Science and Technology Foundation. This is again found with the vision of Honorable President Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan. We have trusts in this with the help of all other campuses of Amity and these clusters of environment, drug discovery, energy, and this we have a cluster of global warming climate change also by the Honorable Founder Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan and our Chancellor, very dynamic Chancellor Dr. Atul Chauhan and Dr. Asim Chauhan. This has a wide scope for environment, pollution, change, ecosystem, agriculture. So there are 6 groups from solid-based research, air pollution, water, wastewater and water research, then energy, biofuel, bioplastic, etc. We also have MOU with CSIR NERI collaborations. We have collaboration with 7 zonal centers, Delhi, Nagpur, Chennai, and Mumbai, etc. And we have identified faculty from NERI campuses and MT campuses who are working together in collaboration to do research, joint research areas of interest. We are biggest in environment domain, in fact, in India, and we have several institutes on environmental toxicology, natural resources, sustainable development, geoinformatics and remote sensing, global warming and ecological studies, forestry and wildlife, green technology research and studies, water technology and management, Antarctic research and studies is one of the very unique research center, and environmental health sciences. Here at MIT, we have several courses. You know the course, we have it from bachelor's to master's to doctoral program in all the institutes which I have mentioned and the areas, and also some diploma courses. Besides this, we are also teaching all the undergraduates UGC environmental course for 4 credit in the first and second semester. Yeah. So we have I've discussed about the projects which we have on water, air pollution research, and also EMF radiation and Antarctic research and studies and solid waste management. There are different projects on current burning topics. We have filed 10 patents on photochemical method, natural pesticide, low-cost water testing kit, lysimeter, exposure system of electromagnetic radiation, novel symbiotic, and recently we have also filed herbal formulation on pre-diabetic condition. Out of these, 4 patents have been granted. We have published 6 books with the Springer, and there are many other to our credit. Now, coming to the importance of the day. I have briefly given overview of MIT's strength in environmental research and studies, and I was entrusted with the responsibility to conduct this World Water Wetland Day from the university. So we are exploring this. The day is very important, and number of wetlands of international importance are 2439 internationally, and but until 20th century, almost 50% wetlands are lost. Now, what are wetlands? These are, in simple terms, these are the land area that is saturated with water either permanently or seasonally. This definition brings ponds, lakes, estuaries, reservoirs, creeks, mangroves, and many more water bodies under the ambit of wetland. Now, based on their hydrological, ecological, and geological characteristic, these can be categorized into coastal wetlands, marine, and then estuarine with tidal marshes and mangrove swamps, lacustrine like lakes, riverine from river systems, and pasturine from marshy swamps and bogs. Wetlands and SDGs. Now, this Ramsar Convention in the 4th strategic plan identifies 4 overarching goals and 19 specific targets that are directly support achievements of SDGs. Now, these wetland and SDGs in the goal 1, they address drivers of wetland loss and degradation. Goal 2 is effectively conserving and managing the Ramsar site network. Goal 3 is wisely using all wetlands, and goal 4 is enhancing implementation. We have in India almost nearly 42 Ramsar sites. This is the map showing the 42 Ramsar sites. And how wetland achieve select SDGs? SDG 1 it ends poverty because it also leads to improved agriculture production, grazing, fishing, and thus generating economic benefits. Second SDG goal, it meets it end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. In fact, they provide communities with 60 to 80% of their animal protein in the case of Cambodia fish culture. SDG 5, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. In this, in fact, participation of both men and women are required, and in some cases, it is empowering women in governance and decision making. Ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. We all know that wetlands also provide a natural water filter. In fact, I have seen many wetlands being artificially made for the filtration of sewage in Australia and India also. Wetlands vegetation captures nutrients, pollutants, and sediments, thus cleaning and improving water quality. Wetland revenue records. So we have in terms of ponds, lakes, talab, sarovar, and johar. What is the significance? It has significance in six main sectors: agriculture and allied sectors, carbon sequestration, pollution abatement, flood control. Also, it has tourism importance and cultural significance. What are the things which harm wetlands? First and foremost is climate change. Then overfishing, encroachment, dam formation, inflow of agriculture, fertilizer and pesticides, dumping industrial waste, conversion of wetland into agriculture paddies. A draft wetland conservation rule came in 2016. I'm looking forward for my speakers to enlighten on this more. I would now come to the end of my introduction. What are the mitigation strategies and recommendations? First is restoration, establishment, preservation of the wetlands, and further enhancement, making new wetlands, raising mass awareness. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to hear from our eminent dignitaries about the wetland conservation and sustainable systems. Thank you again.
Thank you, ma'am, for addressing the platform and setting the tone of today's event. In this age, when soil is eroded because of 1,000 reasons, the wetlands are a gift of nature that helps protect soil erosion. With these words, I take this privilege to invite the first speaker of the day, Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh, Professor of Life Sciences and a former VC of University of Mumbai. Sir is a recipient of 2 DSc degrees in 2017 and 20 from Ram Manohar Lohia Awadh University and University of Science and Technology, Meghalaya, respectively. Dr. Deshmukh also served as scientific consultant and policy advisor to several countries as well as intergovernmental agencies and Government of India. He has also been as an elected fellow of several scientific bodies, academies, and such as Mangrove Society of India, National Environmental Science Academy, International Society for Science and Technology, LEAD India, and Fellow of Society of Biosciences, India. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. And at the outset, I would like to apologize for taking some time to join because of some technical problem. I'm actually traveling and I'm almost 350 kilometers away from Mumbai in a rural setup. But of course, there was a connectivity since morning and somehow I could not reach through my video. So finally, I'm able to connect with you. And as I had mentioned that I would be giving an extempore talk. I will not be using any slides per se. So I hope it should be all right. And I also want to know how much time do I have?
Sir, you have 15 minutes.
Okay.
10 to 15. Yeah, 10
no
minutes
problem.
because our VC will join at 3:10.
Yeah, no problem. So what I'll do is I will try to cover few things right from the beginning since I started doing my research. And then I will come to the current theme of systems for managing wetlands, the theme of today's webinar. And I would also like to thank Dr. Jindal for getting in touch with me yesterday. And even though I was traveling, I felt that I should reach all of you through Amity University. And I have had a privilege to interact with some of the eminent personalities from the Amity University, particularly from Mumbai campus and also Jaipur campus. And therefore, I felt that I should make an attempt and efforts to be with you this afternoon. Had we started at 3:30 and if I was able to connect on time, probably I would have got about 20 minutes. But as I have been given 15 minutes, I would like to restrict to 15 minutes. The wetlands with which I came across myself as a child was based on my birth in the city of Mumbai. And as you know, Mumbai is an island city, one of the largest populated mega cities in the world, and the only mega city where 1/6 of its geographical area is a national park. It is surrounded from all over by water, on the eastern side by Thane Creek, on the western side Arabian Sea, on the northern side the river which is called Ullas River. So with this background, when I started my journey, I came across many wetlands, particularly because I worked on mangrove ecosystems during my PhD and had an opportunity to travel throughout the country, all the coastal states on motorcycle. And during that 4-year period, 50,000 kilometers plus on bicycle and more than 100,000 kilometers on motorcycle gave me a completely different perspective about wetlands, the coastal wetlands, mangroves, and also the understanding of people in dependency on the ecosystems, not only for the livelihood security, but for sustainable management of these ecosystems. At the beginning of my career, thanks to Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, the father of Green Revolution, with whom I got an opportunity to start my career, I had an opportunity to serve the Government of India's Environment Ministry as a member of the National Wetlands and Mangrove Committee as early as in 1992. And currently, of course, I am member of the National Wetlands Committee of the Government of India. What I'm trying to highlight is the work that I was able to initiate and also extend during my entire career, not only related to coastal wetlands, but also I worked in the inland wetlands as well as the biological diversity of Western Ghats and the livelihood security of the coastal and inland communities. This particular exposure gave me an opportunity to see what kind of wetlands do we have, and not only that, how they are sustainably managed. And therefore, when we are talking about wetlands, they are, of course, all of us know that they are the most productive ecosystems on the earth. And despite this, they are also ecologically very sensitive and adaptive ecosystems. Particularly, the wetlands exhibit a very diverse characteristics, particularly with respect to its geographical location, water regime, and also the species diversity with respect to soil and sedimental characteristics. There are many services also which are provided by wetlands, not only to the flora and fauna dependent on them, but also to the other factors, particularly the services which I'm talking about. They include carbon sequestration, for example, flood control, groundwater recharge, nutrient removal, as well as toxics retention and biodiversity maintenance, as well as recreation. In India, when we talk about wetlands, the ecosystem of wetlands in India is actually spread over a wide range of varied climatic conditions. We have almost 164 agroclimatic regions, and in each of these regions, we have different types and sizes of wetlands. We have freshwater wetlands, we have brackish water wetlands, we also have inland brackish water or saline wetland like Sambar Lake in Rajasthan. So they are basically extended from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. And if you're talking about types of them, then they are probably categorized as natural wetlands. Then there are more than 45,000 in number. Then we have inland wetlands which are man-made, probably in the form of lakes or ponds, and they are more than 150,000 in number. So when we're talking about inland wetlands, the current estimate is almost 1,89,000 or something. When we are talking about the coastal areas and the wetland in the coastal region, then there are hundreds and almost few thousands of natural wetlands in the coastal regions. They are to the tune of 10,500. And the man-made coastal wetlands are much less in number, about 3,000 in number. So when we are talking about taking a stock of coastal and inland wetlands, then there are wetlands which are also below the size of almost 2 hectares, which are not in large in size, but that number itself is about 555,000. So when we are talking about total stock of both man-made, natural, coastal, inland, and also the smaller wetlands, then the number exceeds 750,000 in number. So when we're talking about the importance, the dependency of flora and fauna on them, the ecosystem services that we are talking about, they are of different types. There are supporting type of ecosystem services, which include biogeochemical cycling or biotic interactions. And also, when we are talking about individual ecosystem service, then we are talking about habitats or plant material or raw material, for example. There is another type of ecosystem service which we describe as provisioning ecosystem service, and that includes probably animal material or water supply or climate regulation or hydrological dynamics. So this provisioning ecosystem service as well as regulating ecosystem service, which deals with water quality or regulation of extreme events like uh, erosion or regulation of invasive species or pests. So these are some of the ecosystem services. And of course, under the category of cultural type of ecosystem service, then we are talking about recreation. So when we are talking about management of wetlands, the systems which we need to develop can be categorized in different ways. And when we are talking about systems, we cannot apply the systems to all the wetlands in India, and they can be different for inland wetlands, they can be different for coastal wetlands. And there are many wetlands, as I mentioned, more than 555,000, which are in isolation, smaller in size, less than 2 hectares in size. And therefore, when we're talking about water resources management in these wetlands, it is very difficult to go by a blanket uniform management system. It will have to be a specific with regard to each and every individual wetland. And therefore, when the government of India's environment ministry talks about regulating or managing these wetlands, then there are many policy issues where the national conservation strategy and policy guidelines can be different. So from 1972, the government of India started talking about it. It spoke about environment and development in wetlands. Then it spoke about coastal zone regulation notification of 1991. Then it talked about national policy and macro level action strategy on biodiversity in 1999, and also national water policy 2002, which deals with wetland management. But there were legal instruments also which were developed by the government of India, despite the fact that there were global conventions like Ramsar Convention on Wetlands and the Convention of Biological Diversity. There was no special legal provision for wetland conservation in India. But there are other legal instruments which influence the management of these wetlands, the coastal or inland wetlands. And there are many acts like Indian Fisheries Act of 1857, Indian Forest Act of 1927, or Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 74, Territorial Act, Continental Shelf, Exclusive Economic Zone, and Other Marine Zones Act 1976. So there are so many acts. Even the maritime zones of India have been defined in 1980. And of course, Forest Conservation Act came in 1980. There is a Forest Advisory Committee of the Government of India. So all these acts and instruments, they help us to oversee the management of inland as well as coastal wetlands of India. So when we are talking about sustainable management, I would like to cite two examples where I was directly involved. When I was doing my PhD, I was working on 3,000 acres of coastal wetland, which is a mangrove park or a mangrove ecosystem, which is privately owned by a non-government organization in the heart of the city. And we were able to look at various instruments of conservation, restoration, classification, evaluation, and utilization in this particular wetland. And for the first time, we talked about restoration of coastal wetlands by way of introducing mangroves from different region or different parts of the country, and developing a kind of genetic resources conservation center, and also do evaluation of intra and interspecific variations of mangrove species. So these are some of the pioneering efforts which started 35 years before today. And we are very privileged that we were in a position to come out with strategies for development of transgenic plants by identification of candidate genes from mangrove ecosystems. So these are some of the direct highlights of anticipatory research in preservation and management of coastal wetlands. But when we talk about generally sustainable management of Indian wetlands, then they are very crucial, not only because they provide several goods and services necessary for human survival, but also because they are directly linked with the sustainable development. And therefore, the designing or designation of wetlands to the international list, I think we have to ensure that they are making very important contribution to the mega diverse country like India, and the global sustainable development goals, which Dr. Jindal highlighted a few minutes ago. I think we are able to meet some of the targets which are set by various protocols like Aichi protocol in 2010. So we should be in a position to align ourselves to all the international intergovernmental meetings like COP meetings, which are either for biodiversity or even for climate change. And through them, we are in a position to look at physical, socio-economic, and also institutional aspects of management of coastal and inland wetlands. So in conclusion, what I'm trying to say here is that the wetlands are very, very important. They are directly linked with the livelihood and security and ecological security of our nation. And if the more we are in a position to integrate that with linking people's direct dependency on wetlands as well as managing them judiciously with the help of legal mechanisms as tool, and institutional mechanisms like higher education institutions with their direct involvement, we will not be in a position to preserve our wetlands in years to come. And therefore, on this Global Wetlands Day, I would like to convey to all of you our best wishes on my behalf and on my university's behalf. And I look forward to looking at possibilities of developing a consortium rather than only organizing meetings where people like us are invited and we talk about wetlands. But let us have a consortium and concerted effort in nation's contribution or endeavor in wetlands conservation. Thank you very much for the opportunity. My time is up, and I'm most grateful for the opportunity. I'll log in for a few minutes, and I'll have to be excused after that because I'll have to attend to another webinar after a few minutes. Thank you very much, Dr. Jindal, and nice to have interacted with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Deshmukh, for giving the idea of consortium and a brief overview of your experience and also recommendations which are there. In fact, when I started searching, so people told me to invite you, and we are really enlightened by, and we'll see how we can make a consortium out of it for effective way of working to save wetlands. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for addressing the platform. Now, it is my privilege to invite, to welcome Dr. Professor Balvinder Shukla ma'am, our Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh. Professor Balvinder Shukla has over 22 years of experience in organizations such as Shinmit Group, Intera Software, IIHT Systems, and Amity Group of Institutions. She is on the advisory board of many companies, is a member of several professional bodies, and is closely associated with CSR projects. Dr. Shukla is a strategist, institution builder, mentor, and an inspirational leader and relationship builder, along with being an avid researcher, teacher, trainer, and entrepreneur leader, where her specialities include strategic management, resource based strategy, business restructuring, CRM automation of process and systems creating and scaling of new businesses, change management, growth strategies, organization turnaround, and entrepreneurial leadership. Welcome, ma'am.
Yeah,
You're on.
welcome. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining.
Very good afternoon, everybody. Uh, I, on behalf of Honorable Founder President, Honorable Chancellor, and all the deans and head of institution, extend a very warm welcome to all our esteemed guests, Dr. Rajesh Dhankar, Dr. Sanjay Deshmukhji, Mr. Tarun Kathula, Dr. Abhilasha Bhavsar, and Dr. Surbhi Mehrotra for this one-day webinar on World Water Day on the theme Sustainable Systems to Conserve Wetlands. As we know, the waterlands are very important for human and animals as well as for the environment. And we have seen the for last 200 years or so, the wetlands are either decreasing or are not being uh, preserved properly, which has the adverse impact on the climate and on the biodiversity. This year's theme on sustainable system to conserve the wetland, and especially the for the wetland restoration. So I'm sure that today's webinar, where we have the experts from the from various institutions from the discipline, will be deliberating and discussing on the various challenges in wetland restoration, and what should be the strategies and how collaboratively researchers and scientists can work, and which um, help in restoring the wetlands, because it has direct impact on the environment and the ecosystems. Um, uh, I'm very happy that Dr. Tanu Jindal has been taking a lot of initiatives under the global warming and climate change cluster. And so I would first I will congratulate Dr. Tanu Jindal for inviting the experts from the area. And I'm sure that this webinar will not just end today, but with this webinar, a lot of new initiative or the collaborative research will come in this area. And in order to, help in the, ecosystem, sustainable ecosystem for the people and the complete biodiversity, and also to reverse their rapid loss which is happening, and conserving the waterlands. For this, it's important that how we create the awareness among the people, and develop their understanding that which is about this very critical ecosystems on our planet. And so I would suggest Dr. Tanu Jindal, she should create, even after this webinar, she should create, maybe conduct certain workshops in a smaller groups, and maybe even conducting some poster competitions, how the students are aware about the wetlands and their importance, and as well as, because tomorrow's, when we look at the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the environment, climate change, and how we have to restore. So maybe she can also organize some kind of the competitions among the students, so they are much aware about this important aspect of this planet. Um, So with this, I extend very warm welcome and look forward from Tanu General building the stronger relationships with the researchers and scientists and taking the new initiative in this field. So many congratulations and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to share with you. We have already organized a poster competition on t-shirts and papers with the students in the lunchtime, and the winners will be announced with the photographs of them. And the whole domain has participated wholeheartedly into it. Thank you so much for giving me responsibility to organize this. And in fact, with the previous speaker, Dr. Deshmukh has also suggested to make a consortium. And during making this galaxy of speakers, in fact, I came across many other higher officials who, in fact, Minister is there in Goa. Honorable Minister Dr. Vinder Singh is in Goa to initiate a big wetland initiative. And also about Ramsar Convention. So many ministries people have spoken. So I'm sure something good will come out after this workshop and further to continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out precious time for this deliberation and sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you so much, ma'am. Moving on, I would now like to hand over the session to my colleague, Ms. Richa Pahadia. Ms. Richa, over to you.
You are not audible. Yeah, is it? Thank you, Jyoti. The spongy wetlands are a fine example of how Earth has it all sorted for us, but it is up to us now to take care of them. Moving on, now we have Dr. Rajesh Dhankar with us. Dr. Dhankar is a professor in the Department of Environmental Science, MD University, Rohtak. She has completed her PhD in the field of environmental bioremediation for the bioamelioration of saline soils from Department of Biosciences, Maharshi Dayanand University, Rohtak in October 1992. She has more than 30 years research experience in the field of ecotoxicology, and she has published more than 90 publications in different national and international peer journals with high impact factors and citation index. She is also an awarded fellow of Academy of Sciences for Animal Welfare. Welcome, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I am audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dr. Rajesh.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I am happy that you have invited me for this wonderful occasion, Wetland Day.
Thank you so much for sparing your time. You have a wonderful conference going on in your university. My PhD scholars, two of the PhD scholars would be reaching tomorrow to present.
Okay, fine. Welcome, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
I am sharing this screen, so please.
Ma'am, can you adjust your camera? We can see your head only. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, now we can see you.
Screen is visible now?
No, ma'am, not
No,
yet.
ma'am. No, ma'am.
Just a minute. Now it is visible, Shivani.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Now slide are visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Tanu Jindal, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to interact with the students, faculty members, and the youngsters on such auspicious occasion, wetland. Now it is a need of the hour because wetlands are very important nowadays. It is in between the terrestrial and the aquatic areas. It is,
Excuse
yes?
me, ma'am. Sorry
Yes?
to interrupt you, ma'am. It
Yes.
would be great if you put it on the slide mode.
Okay, slide is not visible.
Ma'am, slide is visible, but the font size is
Font size is
slideshow.
Slideshow. If you could put it on the slideshow
okay,
mode.
right. Now it is fine.
No, click again. Please click again. It is not in slideshow mode.
It is in this. It is not in this slide share. No.
Just click from beginning. Just click from beginning. Slideshow. Can you see in the screen in the top? Or maybe it's
Ma'am,
okay. I think.
ma'am, you have to unshare and share again.
Okay.
Anyways, I think it is visible. Let us start with that. I think it is visible to
Now
all.
it is visible.
Yeah. Please carry on. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, it is the transition between the aquatic area and the transition area, wetlands. And we have a very different kind of the ecosystem, which is flooded by water, sometimes permanently and sometimes seasonally. It is not a like that. We have the terrestrial system, which is throughout the year have the same kind of the look. It is of different kind of the ecosystem, and in we have few examples which are the mainly largest wetlands: West Siberian lowland, Amazon River basin, Hudson Bay lowland. These are the largest wetland in the world, and the protected wetland are the Llanos de Moxels, which are located in Bolivia, and it has more than 70 million acres of the length. These wetlands, it is not necessary that they are present at everywhere. No, they are present at every climate, but not in the Antarctica. It is present in every continent except the Antarctica, and depending upon, they have different sizes from the isolated prairie potholes to salt marshes. Why these are so important? Why we are so much concentrating? We are celebrating the Wetland Day, and we are so organizing so many functions like poster session and your slogan writing, as Madam has said that we have already put in this competition for this, and it is a good kind of the practice for to aware the students, faculty members through these kind of the activities, because these wetlands, they are the water-related ecosystem services. And as we all know, nowadays, this is the most important kind of the scarcity in the world that we are facing, the scarcity in the water due to the population growth, urbanization, consumption pattern, which has put unbearable pressures on the wetlands and the water in them. As we all know, that the freshwater sources are only 82% of 82% of the world population, which are exposed to high level of pollution in their water supply. And on an approximate 2.2 million people don't have safe drinking water, with the annual economic cost, which are amounting on an approximately $260 billion, which is a very big amount. And water insecurity was a key factor in the conflict at least 45 countries in since last 5 to 6 years. 14% of the water is needed to produce 70% more food by 2050 for 10 million people. So it is a very big amount that for we are in the future, we are suffering a lot due to the water scarcity. Then what is the, you can say, loss for the?
So your slides are not moving, Dr. Rajesh.
Okay. Actually, I am not moving my slides. So what wetlands in the nutshell? In the nutshell, 35% of the planet's carbon is stored in the earth's surface, and out of which 6% are in the wetland. So it is a very big amount. That 6% of the wetlands, they are storing the carbon. 40% of the world biodiversity is residing in the wetlands. This is again a big, you can say, amount of the biodiversity. 40% is very big amount that is residing in the wetlands, and 225 billion of the carbon is taken up by the wetland and stored by the wetlands, and over 200 million ton, 201 million ton of the new species of the freshwater are discovered every year in the wetlands. We have the threatened species also, which are present in the wetland.
Dr. Rajesh, it would be nice if you could move your slides because only first slide is there.
Oh, I'm moving, ma'am.
But somehow it is not moving on our screen.
Okay, now moving.
No.
Okay.
Ma'am, you have to unshare your screen and share again. Then only can your screen
Okay,
will
right,
move.
right.
And also please adjust your camera. Your face is not completely visible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ma'am, click on share screen button and select your presentation only.
Now it is visible.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible. Now try to move your slides, ma'am.
Now it is visible.
Yes, ma'am, it's moving now.
Okay, thank you. Now it is visible.
Yes, it is visible
Yes,
now.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So this is the very beautiful slide which is showing the wetlands, which is showing that UNESCO data 40% of the world flora and fauna that is living in the wetlands. We have the highest species diversity of all the ecosystem in the wetlands, and the main dominating species in the wetlands are the amphibians, reptiles, birds, and forbidiers. These are all present in the wetlands. Now we have different kinds of the wetlands. This is a very beautiful slide which is showing the swamps. This is one type of the wetland. Second slide, this is showing the marshes, very beautiful. And third is bogs. So wetlands, they are very beautiful of different kinds, swamps, marshes, and bogs.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am.
Yes.
Again, the slides are not visible.
So it is a problem for us. I don't know why it is not. Now it is visible.
Ma'am, slides is visible but not moving. We are on the importance of wetland slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Swamps, marshes, they are not visible.
No, ma'am.
But only it is. Okay.
Dr. Rajesh, how many slides you have?
I have 40 slides.
40 slides, and you are on which slide number?
I am on the fifth, sixth.
Okay. I would say if you could speak extempore.
Yeah, that will be.
Please speak extempore about the wetlands. That would be
Okay.
great. Yeah.
That will be better.
Yeah.
So we have on an approximate 2,400 transfer sites around the world, and out of which in India 4% of the geographical area was covered by the Indian wetlands, and 1,52,600 square kilometers of the wetlands are in the coastal natural wetland, that is 24.3%. When we talk of the state-wise distribution of the wetland, then Gujarat is on the top, which covers 17.56% of the total geographical area of the state. And Andhra Pradesh covers 14,500 square kilometers. Uttar Pradesh covers 12,400 square kilometers, and West Bengal covers 11,100 square kilometers. India, on an approximate, designated 49 wetlands, which are covering the 10,936 square kilometers in 80 states and union territories. 2 union territories, they are occupying the largest network of the Ramsar sites. On the 49 sites, 10 are in UP, 6 in Punjab, 4 in Gujarat, and Jammu Kashmir, 1 in Jammu Kashmir, 3 each in Himachal Pradesh and Kerala. 2 in Haryana, Maharashtra, Odisha, West Bengal, Rajasthan, 1 in each Andhra Pradesh, Assam, Bihar, Ladakh, Manipur, Tamil Nadu, Tripura, Uttarakhand, and Madhya Pradesh, respectively. Haryana is having the 1,441 wetlands. And on August 10, 2021, 2 wetlands of the Haryana, that is Sultanpur National Park in Gurgaon and Vindavas Wildlife Sanctuary in Jhajjar, were included in the Ramsar list. So these are the biggest. Vindavas Bird Sanctuary. This was the biggest wetland in the Haryana, and it covers 12 kilometers. Now, nowadays the wetlands, they are going towards the degradation. That is why we are celebrating the wetland to improve, to conserve, to manage the wetland. Now, what is the status of the wetland degradation? On an approximate 30% of the natural wetlands in India, they have been lost. And Mumbai has lost maximum wetland, that is 71% from 1970 to 2014. The other major cities, they have also faced the wetland loss, mainly Ahmedabad, Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Delhi, and the Pune and National Capital Region. What are the reasons? What could be the reason? As Madam Tanu has already told us that urbanization is one of the biggest reasons. And the very good example of this is the Kanwar Lake in Bihar. This is the Asia's largest freshwater osmo lake, and it has been shrunk to 1/3 of its size due to the encroachment like Jammu and Kashmir Dal Lake. The second very good factor is the agricultural residue. As we know, intensification of agricultural activities, that has been mainly responsible for the deterioration or degradation of these wetland, because the nutrients which is coming from the fertilizers, they stimulates the algal growth and leading to eutrophication, and thus results into the degradation. Municipal and industrial pollution is another very big factor for the degradation, and very good example of this is the Balandur Lake in Bengaluru city, which was declared on fire on May 2015 due to the discharge of the effluents by the surrounding industries. Another very big factor is the climate change, as Madam Tanu has already discussed with us, that this is also another factor. Then comes why we conserve our wetlands, because they are the very good habitat for thousands of aquatic and terrestrial plants and animals. And they enhance the well-being as they provide place to relax, experience nature, and enjoy a sense of satisfaction at their resurgence. They are also valuable for the flood protection, water quality improvement, and shore erosion control. They are very good carbon sinks, especially mangroves, marshes, and seagrass beds. Wetlands are very good livelihoods in fishing and aquaculture. Then how can we manage the wetland? There are many programs have been conducted, where many activities are also conducted to protect, to restore, to manipulate, and provide the functions and value, we emphasizing both quality and accuracy by still advocating the sustainable uses of them. The principles in management strategies that can be incorporated are: number one, by using the regulating the water quality standards. They must be taken under consideration. Second is creation of buffer zones for wetland protection. Third is the, as Madam has told, community support. Besides this, there are a number of other factors. Number one is which balance the management interventions which balance ecosystem function and human needs, incentives, facilitation, legal frameworks, negotiated local rules, agreed upon the functional institutions, sound understandings, and a community-based system which enable to learn and adapt from success and failures of the wetland. Now, what could be the benefits of restoring the wetland? Number one, we can revive the biodiversity. Number two, we can replenish the water supply. Number three, we can store the carbon, which is the biggest problem for the climate change. Number four is the blunt the impact, the flooding and storms, they can be taken up, improve the livelihood, we can boost the ecotourism, and it will also enhance the well-being. What is the level of India? What India is doing for the conservation? Number one is, you all know, Ramsar Convention. Second is National Wetland Conservation Program. Third is Central Wetland Rules. Fourth is National Environment Policy 2006. And fifth is capacity building. National Mission for Clean Ganga, Master Plan Delhi 2014. These are another conservation and management groups. One very big, you can say, our worthy Prime Minister has given us in the Union Budget 2023-24, protecting our wetlands and mangroves, an initiative for mangrove initiatives for shoreline habitats and tangible incomes will be taken up for mangroves plantation along the coastline and on salt pan lakes. The government will promote the Amrit River, a scheme to encourage optimal use of wetlands and enhance the biodiversity, carbon sink, and ecotourism opportunities. Now, what more could be done in India in these perspectives? This is the need of the hour. Like today, Professor Tanu is doing a very good kind of the thing that to conduct the workshops, posters, slogan writing. Besides this, mega urban schemes are also started, like smart city missions, Atal mission for rejuvenation, urban transformation. There is also a need for more scientific data, imageries, maps. These are the relevant tools to provide knowledge on the status of the wetland. There is also a need for stronger enforcement of the rules, which is we are not following. Further, next is the awareness. We all are. What are the global efforts? Are the number one is the Ramsar Convention. Number two is Mortrex record. This is new. I think you must have heard the Mortrex record. It is a register of the wetland site in which it is of international importance, where changes in ecological character have occurred, and in this we are likely to, this will give us the result of technological developments, pollution, or other human interference. Wetland of India that are in Mortrex record are Keoladeo National Park, Rajasthan, Loktak Lake, Manipur, Chilka Lake of the Odisha was placed in the record, but later on it was removed from it. Wetland is now also related with the sustainable development goals, as Madam has already discussed, that we have almost 6 to 7 sustainable development goals, which are very much related with the wetlands. Madam has already discussed with this. So I close my lecture with these words, that the theme of this year is World Water Day. It is a time for wetland restoration. So I congratulate to Professor Tanu for conducting this seminar, online seminar, and also best wishes for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh, for giving a brief overview of all wetland studies and research. In fact, I'm so grateful to you for accepting our request in spite of having AMI being organized at your campus. And as I said, Ms. Richa, whom you can see on the screen, and Ms. Jayati, who are both MCs of the event, they will be reaching Rohtak tomorrow.
Okay, welcome, Richa. Welcome to me.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Ms. Jayati, can you come on the screen? So that madam can recognize you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So both of them would be reaching in afternoon, and they have their presentation in your microwave conference.
You can call me if some emergency is there, right?
Yes, I will share your number with you. Thank you so much. And maybe I'm looking forward to do something together in the form of projects or workshops.
Welcome. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for addressing the platform with your knowledge. The wetlands are responsible for a diverse ecosystem, and the ecosystem will be spoiled if the wetlands cease to exist. Now we have our next speaker, Mr. Tarun Kathula. Mr. Kathula is presently working as Director Scientist F in Regional Office of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Hyderabad. Earlier, he worked as a Director Biosafety, Biodiversity in the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, New Delhi. Mr. Kathula has also served as India's national focal point on biosafety to Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety, Member Secretary Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee, and handled the issues related to National Biodiversity Authority, Biological Diversity Act 2002 and Biodiversity Route 2004. Welcome, sir.
Welcome,
Good morning
Mr.
to all.
Welcome, sir. Over to you, sir.
Morning to all the dignitaries, to all the speakers, and Tanu Jindal madam, who is also my guide. And good morning to all the participants. Today I'm going to give a brief talk on wetlands with close reference to biodiversity and how our national laws and international strategies are there in place for conservation of the wetlands. So I'm sharing my presentation. Just wait a moment. So hope it is seen in full screen.
No, sir, it is not in the full screen.
Now it is in full screen, I think. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So today the theme is sustainable system to conserve wetlands. This actually, the name suggests that sustainable means everything is linked, everything is related on the globe, especially on the ages of global warming and climate change cluster. This is the theme given. So I want to link it to holistic view. To start with, before that, let me tell you the importance of wetlands. If you go into the history, there are a lot of dynasties, the Chola dynasty, the Nizams, and one is there in Kakatiya dynasty. Their formula of development is 3 T's. T for tank, T for temple, and T for township. So T is nothing but it's a wetland, and they have grown the kingdoms with this kind of concepts. So wetland, it simply tells that it represent fertility and life. So that's how we want to start. And the mega diversity in the country, wetland is good news is that they are on the rise, and we harbor 2/3 of the wild tigers in India, because for tigers the forests are important, and forest means it's water and ground tabling, and it is rechanneled by our wetlands only. Even if you see Sundarbans also, it's a tiger reserve. Similarly, Asiatic lions are also there. So these are, we can take them apex species, the Maldari tribes in Gir, who actually close associated with livestock and tiger population. If you read that case study, you can know how wetlands are directly linked to this mega wildlife also. Similarly, elephants, one-horn rhino, if you see Kaziranga, it is also every time it is flooded. So there is always linked with this. And one of the recently gained species is Gangetic dolphin. So this is also an indicator for freshwater ecosystem and fresh riverine water ecosystem. So now we are moving ahead in conserving the mega diversity. Some of the important facts are India has 15.98 million hectares of wetlands, which accounts for 4.8% of its geographical area. And everybody knows that we have 75 wetlands designated under Ramsar site. And we have also incorporated 4-pronged approaches for conservation of wetlands in the recent framework. That is one, preparation of brief documents, rapid ecosystem health assessment, constitution of wetland mitras, and preparation of integrated wildlife management. So for conserving any wetland anywhere in India, these 4 concepts are being standardized, and they were duly incorporated in the National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystems framework. So this is the latest thing that happened in the government of India. And I am also happy to inform that in April 22, Honorable Prime Minister launched a mission of Amrit Sarovar with an objective of construction development of at least 75 points in each district of the country. So that is the prominence of wetlands we have in the country. So various, as well as the earlier speaker Sanjay ji has already spoken enough about the legislative constitution, how we protect wetlands. We have Wildlife Act, Forest Act, EP Act. EP Act is a very broad. We have Coastal Zone Regulation Act. Many are there, and Biodiversity Act is also there. But one thing which I want to stress is the recently one more kind of designation that is came. This is OECMs, other effective area-based conservation measures areas. All the other areas comes under any of the act, but if you designated under OECM, it doesn't have any statutory provision, but you can conserve without any legal teeth. The problem in India growing is nobody want to give land under any of the act because they feel that in future that land cannot be diverted or cannot be used for other purpose. So one fine thing is to increase the number of protected conservation areas, especially wetlands. The government of India has come out with the OECM category where the guidelines are also shared and they are available on the website. So coming to the global acceptance, the overarching conservation initiatives where India is a signatory to them. If you see the Convention on Biological Diversity, 10 years back in 2010 IT target, we have IT target 11. The globe has promised around 17% of the terrestrial and 10% of the marine to be conserved. But in the recent 2022 last year, December Montreal Protocol, the convention, it says that it is not enough. We have to go for 30% of the land and 30% of the sea should be conserved. So under that, we will come automatically. We have a long challenge to increase the wetlands. Only life on earth is wetlands. So we have to increase our wetlands to reach 30%. So in a way, we have to increase our OECMs. Similarly, another target is there where in UNCCD, India has hosted 4 years back. It is 26 million hectares to be restored. So restoration also include revival of the wetlands. So Paris agreements, you all know that 2.5 to 3 billion sink is there. So wetlands are the best for the carbon sequestration. So this is also overarching target which will help in conservation of wetlands. Ramsar sites, we also know this is directly linked to wetlands. The more we designate, the more effective management is there for. It means that it is having international standards of conserving a wetland. Then only it can be, as Madam told, Rajashri Madam, that moderates categories, and sometimes if you don't reach their level, it cannot be, it can also be delisted. So we should constantly observe their management, integrated management plans and implement it effectively. Another beautiful example of conserving overarching conservation is UNESCO natural heritage sites. It is one of the example is our Sundarbans. So the wetlands can also be designated as UNESCO natural heights if it is closely associated with livelihoods and support. And last, Man and Biosphere program is also there in the ministry, which closely associate with the societies living in and around the wetlands. As Tanu Madam has already told, a lot of SDG goals are interlinked, and one I would like to highlight under 15 life on land is wetlands, and it's under this, under every SDGs there are indicators. 15.1.2 indicators directly deals with freshwater biodiversity. So in the recent scenario, we have two initiatives called Lifestyle for Environment and G20. In these two platforms also, we are reviving our restoration and revival of the wetlands is important. Earlier, we thought that halt the biodiversity, that was there, but it's not sufficient. We have to restore it. That's our main theme, because G20 India is also a presidency for it. And coming to the wetland services, as many speakers told, we have ecosystem services of wetlands, nutrient cycle, and pest and disease regulations are there. It's also have a tourist important spiritual religious sites. Wherever you find water, birds will come and they nest. It can become a migratory bird tourist destination. It's a revenue for the local, and clean water provisions are also there. It's a natural shock absorbers for various storms like hazards, cyclones, and good for carbon storage and climate change adaptation. These are the ecosystem services that are provided. So overall, one thing, as I told, that India should report at least 30% by 2030. So wetlands play an important role. So we should properly report that to the CBD also, so that we can reach the target 3 of the CBD, conventional biological diversity, which help, and already protected areas are there, forest already designated, 23% we are already there. To reach 30, we don't only have a major opportunity in the form of wetlands only. So wetlands are very prominent from global perspective also, global ranking also, how India is performing its environment protection. So with this, I thank everyone for giving me this opportunity, and Tanu Madam and the management of the MIT University. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tarun, for giving such brief overview, and with your vast experience working in UN Ministry of Environment Forest. It was very crisp and very informative. Some of the points I have come to know from your presentation. There are certain questions also will ask in the end, especially from you. I am getting in my WhatsApp from the students. So we would request if you could answer them. And one I think is there, Ms. Jayati, can you speak?
Yes, ma'am. There's one question. Um, do plants have a higher conservation value than animals?
What can you tell again? Can you speak again?
She's saying whether the plants have a higher
Plants have a higher
conservation.
conservation value than animals.
See, I can tell both important, but it's not like that. If you see the food chain, if you see one is interdependent to other. So if you conserve tiger, automatically you're conserving whole the ecosystem. So it is vice versa. If one is not there, the other is not there. So you cannot give importance to one. But as an indicator, if you conserve the apex species like tiger or lion or snow leopard, the whole ecosystem is healthy. So automatically plants also get healthy. And ungulates who feeds on the fats also get healthy. So I prefer, being a wildlifer, I prefer its animals. Thank you.
Okay. And in fact, our first speaker has also mentioned about making a consortium. So would you like to say anything on that?
See, madam, consortiums are very good, but as per wetland rules, every state has to have a wetland authority. So if respective universities in respective states can strongly liaise with state level authorities, instead of national, because madam, as Prime Minister already told that every district should have at least 30 of ponds. So at state level, I think any consortium, or if you have a university in UP, and UP Wetland Authority can closely work with MIT University in Noida. So that kind of arrangements can be practical, madam. A consortium at the national level, maybe the ground truthing may be difficult. If it is a policy recommendation, it would be a fine. Yeah.
Okay, so state level consortium, for example, if we combine with all the campuses of MIT, so different states will be involved in them then.
Yeah, every state, it is statutory provision, madam. Every state has to designate a wetland authority, and you can be a supporting system for them, technical supporting body for that wetland authority. And most of the wetlands are recently formed in 1 or 3 years. All are new, basically. So this, you have a good potential for it.
Yeah, I was studying that. And what do you think the most important projects would be to do for wetland? Because satellite systems are there. There are many things now available. Tools and techniques are available. So, what do you think? What would be the most important projects to carry out?
Madam, projects already, ISRO has Space Application Center has already mapped all the wetlands. So as I told you in the presentation, there is 4 principle. One of the last principle is you have to prepare integrated management plans. So the states can get a opportunity, you can have an opportunity to prepare integrated plans at state level with the state level authorities. That is where there is a good opportunity for projects.
Yeah, but I've seen that during my talk, I also presented that they also encourage, formation of new wetlands also.
Yes, madam. New wetlands is on our product identification, mapping, and everything is there. Already mapping is there, madam. You have to manage it. Maps are already available with space application because it's direct satellite data. We have a wetland atlas also there. Based on that, you can liaise for enhancing its management and conserving over time. You can give a technical support, preparation of management plan and implementation. That is budgeting and everything that can technical supports the university can give to the local state authorities.
Okay, so there are more questions. Please stay with us because this is a very important, and in fact I was in touch with wetland authority. Is this there is one wetland international South Asia also. So I was in touch with the director, Dr. Ritesh Kumar. In fact, today everyone is busy, so many of them could not come. They wanted to join. So I will speak with you further on that. And in fact, there are many other NGOs, small NGOs also working on wetland conservation and their usages. So I'll get back to you soon. And yeah, and there's some questions which Jayati is telling me, but please hold, let us invite other speakers so that we can discuss further.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for addressing the platform with your knowledge. The wetlands fix the balance of the earth, and so it is imperative that the wetlands are kept protected. With these words, I would like to invite Dr. Abhilasha Bhavsar, Assistant Professor, Department of Environmental Sciences and Limnology, Barakatullah University, Bhopal. She has completed her PhD in Environmental Sciences and Limnology in 2013. She has over 10 years of research experience with 2 projects and 30 publications in various national and international journals. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Jayati and Richa. I'm not able to share my screen. I think somebody is already sharing. So
I think unsharing has been done now.
Okay, let me try again. Okay, is it visible to everybody?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Okay, thank you so much. So, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much, MIT University, for inviting me for a special talk on this World Wetland Day webinar. So, to start with, since last 1 or more than 1 hour, we are discussing the definitions of wetlands and how it came into existence. So I will just firstly I'll go through that everybody is knowing that it was in 1971 there was a convention, there was a meeting that held in the Ramsar city of Iran, and there were the environmentalists, there were some social peoples who were concerned about the degradation of wetlands, and not only the wetlands, the biodiversity which is dependent on the wetland and our necessity and the usage of those wetlands. So they felt an urge to do something for the wetlands, for the water bodies. So they held a meeting in 1971, and that convention resulted into the Ramsar Convention, and that came into force in the 1975. So what are wetlands? I will just go through the simple definition of wetlands. Wetlands are the lands which cover the soil or near surface of the soil. Which cover the soil, I means it can be pond or the lake, and near surface of the soil, we mean it can be river also. And for varying period of time, it is not necessary the water body which you want to consider as wetland, it should be perennial, it can be seasonal also. And the very peculiar feature of the wetland is its biodiversity. Now, I'm not going deeply into the technical term or definition of the wetland, but this is the definition which came into my mind when I saw the latest, when I saw the theme of this year's World Wetland Day, that was the restoration of wetland. So what came into my mind, I just wrote it down here, that any land that is wet and has the possibility to giving birth to the water body can be considered as wetland. Because due to urbanization, senior people are sitting over here, they must be knowing it very well that due to the pressure of urbanization, the existing wetlands are no more over there. What we can see there is just the wetty soil or the moist soil. So if you find any land which you think it is wet and which is able to give birth to a land where water can be stored for a particular duration of the year or for the whole of the year, you can consider it as the wetland. And one more thing that arises into my mind while looking after the literature and the various posts on the social media, which are there on the Twitter and the Facebook, that you can differentiate wetlands as Ramsar site or water bodies of national or international importance. But there should not be any discrimination about among these wetlands. Like, you should not discriminate while using those wetlands that this is the Ramsar site and this is not the Ramsar site, this is the wetland of national importance and this is not, so we should avoid it, we can avoid it. It should not be like this. So every wetland is important. They may be differentiated as Ramsar site or site of national international importance, but they should not be discriminated because we all are benefiting by them in one or another way. So these are my thoughts which have been emerging into my mind since last 3-4 days. Now, what are the uniqueness of the wetlands? What are actually wetlands are the form aquatic ecosystem that supports aquatic biodiversity, which forms more than 40% of plant and animal species living on the planet. Okay, that means 40% is the huge figure. So aquatic biodiversity or the biodiversity which is dependent on these wetlands are contributing 40% of the overall biodiversity found on the planet. And as everybody is saying that these wetlands are the greatest natural carbon store, they help in carbon sequestration and they support livelihood. A lot of ecosystem services have been discussed here by various experts. So I would just like to add one or two in that they support the livelihood of the fishermen and the local people which are living at the bank of these wetlands or in the local area of that wetland. And the thing that is of concern is more than 90% of the world's wetlands have been degraded or no more are there. Now, here I have been listening all the experts here who have delivered their online lecture. One thing I think that is left is what are the factors that are causing wetlands to degrade and what can be the sustainable measures that we can use for restoration or for the maintenance of these wetlands. So I want to start with the river continuum concept, which has been given long back in 1980, and that says that you have to protect the riparian area, the very adjacent bank of any water body, if you really want to make that wetland or that water body alive forever. If you are not going to conserve the riparian zone, the local catchment area of that water body, you are not at all going to conserve it in any ways. No matter how much crores of money you invest in the name of development or the conservation of that water body. So here, what the river continuum concept says that you have to have some forest land use in the riparian zone of the wetland. Why? Because in this picture, you can see lot of biodiversity is there. It consists of fishes and like small fishes, big fishes. Then there are the collectors that comes under the benthic macroinvertebrates. So these are the different type of biodiversity which depends on the different type of food material and which they can get from the plant or trees that are there at the bank of that wetland. So if you want rich biodiversity, you want good biodiversity, or if you want to assess the health of the wetland, you have to make sure that aquatic biodiversity of that wetland should be alive. So for that, you have to provide them this proper protection of the forested land use at the riparian zone, at the adjacent zone of the wetland. One more thing I would like to add into my this lecture, I just skipped it, that wetlands are, it seems that it may be a very simple ecosystem, but it is not. It is very complicated and very useful and unique ecosystem. And that is the reason why PM Modi has spoken about wetlands in their Man Ki Baat, just in their latest episode of Man Ki Baat. And he says there is urgent need to conserve these wetlands. And at present, due to the various efforts of government as well as other people also, at present, India is having 75 Ramsar site in our country. Earlier, it was only 26, but yes, in last 15 to 16 years, we have reached this reading this figure to 75 Ramsar sites. So at present, we are having 75 Ramsar sites in our country. Now, what can be the vices of wetlands? And because we are humans, we are men, we need some benefits. So that's the only reason we can think of conserving or protecting any component of nature. So irrigation, fishing, water requirement, aquaculture, polyculture are the direct usage which we are getting for the wetlands. And these are the factors. Now, I just want to highlight these factors. These are the factors which are affecting wetlands or which are contributing in degrading the condition of the wetlands. Agriculture, grazing land, human settlement, deforestation, soil erosion, industries, sewage dispersal, and urbanization, obviously, so on. So here are few pictures. Basically, I am involved in the health assessment of rivers and wetlands since last 15 years. And these are the pictures from our central India. These are the few wetlands which we will be studying. So you can see here the riparian zone, or you can see the activity which are going in the catchment area of these wetlands. In the first picture, cattle grazing was there, and due to which this small, very little patch of this wetland can be seen, but this grazing land is contributing a lot to degrade the quality of this wetland. In the second picture, you can see the exploitation of water the people are doing over here. And in the third picture here, you can see the human settlements. So direct sewage disposal is there. So that is also a threat for the wetlands. And in the third, in the last picture again, you can see the various activities those people are doing over there. So, and one more scene I want you to show. These two are again the pictures of central India, somewhere in Madhya Pradesh. On the left side, you can see the forest land use in the catchment area of a wetland. And on the right picture, you can see forest trees as well as the soil patches and the green patches. So what happened with this Chamarsil stream or the Chamarsil wetland, what happened with this is the land that is adjacent to river has been used by the local farmers for the farming. And you can see here openly that soil and agriculture paddy field can be seen over here, because it is good for their production. It gives them good yield. So what they do is, because they are not aware, they don't know what they're doing, so they are using these land adjacent to the wetland as a forest for their agricultural practices, and the nutrient is directly going to these wetlands with the surface runoff and in creating eutrophication into it and lot of other problems over there. And also the major thing is when these are contributing in the shrinkage of wetland, because during summer what they say is the water level of the stream decreases, so they just approach that land and start cultivating over there. And when the monsoon or winter's season come, rainy season, wet season come, there is no space for water to be retained. So the shrinkage of wetland is also due to the result of these agricultural practices and due to grazing lands, and sewage disposal is also contributing to the eutrophication. So if we are discussing here the sustainable measures, we really want to know the sustainable measures about the conservation of wetland or the restoration of the wetland, that can't be done without the action that has to be taken up to the catchment area. It's not about the local bank or the adjacent area of the wetland, but if you really want to take some action, so go for the catchment level area strategies. Otherwise, you cannot restore any wetland. Now, again, catchment area should be, catchment level area should be, strategy should be made, and no anthropogenic activity, at least in the riparian zone. There should not be any activity in the riparian zone. And yes, there is difference in the beautification of wetlands and the conservation of wetland. One has to understand. Means you are reviving a wetland, and after a few years, what you are doing, you are just introducing it as the new point of excursion or for gathering or like picnic of things. No, it should not be there. Beautification is totally different, and conservation of wetlands is totally different thing. And if you need conservation, things are different. And beautification, if you are going to make some improvements, or like you're using brakes to just beautify the bank area of the wetland so that you can enjoy in your free time or in your holidays, so you are not doing good with the wetlands. Okay, so you have to understand there's difference in beautification and conservation. Yes, what you can do is you have to notify what wetlands you have to beautify and what wetlands are there to be conserved. Because what Ramsar says that at least 20,000 of population of birds or any species should be there to declare it as a Ramsar site or declare it as a wetland of national or international importance. So you just go through the physicochemical and biological studies of those wetlands, and then you can categorize them. Yes, this will be these wetlands will be beautified, and these will beautified wetlands will be used to generate our revenues or the economies, whatever. But conservation of wetland should not be mixed with the beautification. Normally, the what happens is the we get these amount and grants from various agencies, and when we put it into the for the beautification of the wetlands, and nobody thinks about the conservation of wetlands. So we have to focus on them. And local species, whether it's plant or animal, should be given importance. Yes, community involvement is must, is very must. You have to ask the local people if they are going to do something, we are going to make any management plant or conservation plant over this wetland, how your economy, how your daily life is going to affect. So without their involvement, because they are living with that water bodies, with this, that nature, with that forest all the time, so they must be knowing it very well. And what they are getting it from that, only they can tell you. So community involvement is very important for the sustainable solutions for conservation of wetlands. Aquatic biodiversity should be studied well. If there may be some exotic or rare species in that particular wetland, so aquatic biodiversity study should be conducted well. Please avoid interfering with the nature. That will serve as a huge support for the conservation of wetland. And stop exploiting wetlands. Wetlands are naturally giving you their services, so please take them, but don't exploit them. And if you want to do sewage disposal, as every city is doing that, so do it, but only after proper treatment. Just not with the old designed STPs. Just try to come with the good designs of STPs so that wetlands can be conserved. Now, these are the 7 best practices which Ramsar Convention has said. And in these 7 practices, you will not see any of the very technical or sophisticated type of model they are talking about for the conservation of wetland. It is nothing like that. They are just saying that restore multiple benefits. A natural wetland provides many benefits. So try to conserve it as a holistic, with your holistic approach, not for just 1 or 2 benefits. And develop a restoration plan that includes wildlife as well as the water quality monitoring of that wetland. involve the community, address what is the cause of degradation, and that cause of degradation may be your daily habit, daily routine, like throwing the your garbage into the water bodies directly. Okay, then restore native flora and fauna, that I already mentioned, that you have to know what are the flora and fauna that are the native to that particular wetland, and then you have to support its survival in it. And clean up the degraded area. Yes, I just want to focus on this thing, clean up the degraded area. Yesterday I was in a program and there were some experts, so we were just discussing. So one man come with his experience. He was saying some municipal corporation came to clean the wetland, and when they asked them ki why you are doing this, they said ki particular government agency has said us. So they said, that man said to him, please don't do this. He said, why? Ye pura pollute ho raha hai. Why you are stopping us? So what these agency people are doing, they have removed all the vegetation which were having eggs of the migratory birds or the local birds. With that, all the dividing their whatever is their target or whatever their work. So we have to come with this idea ki if you are trying to restore the degraded area, or if you want to deweed the any wetland, so there should be some proper guidance. There should be awareness that during particular, at least during November to February, this should not be done because a lot of birds has their breeding period that time. So these are just one of the things that I'm saying. All these things you have to keep in mind. And structure access to the wetland. What is the area of land that is adjacent to wetland should be given to public for their use. Okay, so these are the few very small 7 practices that Ram sir has given for the restoration of wetlands. And here in our department is working in the area of wetland conservation since last 50 years. So we have been trying to develop such a protocol which come with no scientific methods or no scientific machinery or technology involved, but with these survey-based protocols which will help local government as well as local people to conserve the wetlands. This is again a question, rivers are wetland or not, and what should be the definition of wetland? Everybody must be feeling it that Ram sir has given a particular definition that has something to do with the depth of the water body. It should not exceed the 6 meters of depth or something like that. But there are a lot of confusions in it. So definition of wetland has to be redefined, and rivers are wetlands. See, the tributary of a major river, you consider it as a wetland. A lake, you consider it as a wetland. But the major river or the major oceans, you can say, they are out of this wetland classification. Why? There may be some conservation differences in the planning, conservation policy making, or there may be some other political or some other issues that they don't want to declare these big rivers, which are the direct source of revenue generation, and a lot of things are there. So we don't understand why rivers are kept big rivers. I'm telling you, not the tributaries or the small streams I'm talking about. The big rivers are not considered as the wetland for their proper management or the conservation. And this is our Bhoj wetland that is in Bhopal. It is a Ramsar site. These are just latest pictures which I have taken in the first week of December, when we are up to the workshop for the annual routine activity to assess the physicochemical and biological property of this particular Bhoj wetland. So these are the glimpses of that workshop and the work we are doing for the wetland. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an informative and interesting address. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, our next speaker for the day is Dr. Surabhi Mehrotra, Assistant Professor, Department of Architecture and Planning, MA NIT Bhopal. She obtained her doctoral degree from Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, Mumbai, She has about 20 years of experience together in research, industry, and academics. Her primary research interest includes environmental planning, urban planning, and spatial analytics. Her industry experience includes social and environmental impact assessment for varied development projects, master planning projects, integrated watershed development, and city biodiversity projects. She is currently a member of the National Wetland Committee, MOEFCC, as a landscape planning expert. Also, she was a member of the Expert Advisory Committee of LDA Manipur. With experience in both academics and industry, she has developed a great understanding of working with students, government officials, and stakeholders. Her research domain focus in on climate, responsible development, and framing policy guidelines for future development. She has various publications in international journals as well as conferences pertaining to her work. Dr. Surabhi is an environmental enthusiast who had worked extensively with communities, researchers, and decision makers on environmental issues. Welcome, ma'am.
Welcome, Dr. Surabhi.
Yes.
As I
Yeah.
met you, yeah, yes, you told me that your photo will not be visible, but please,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
look forward to see your presentation. Yeah.
yeah, sure, sir. Thank you, Dr. Tanujindal, and thank you, Richa, for the introduction. So I'm sharing my screen. Um, let me know if it is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I
Yes,
think
ma'am.
as soon as I do the screen share, will it be visible? Just check.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible, but not
Mhm.
in the screen, full screen mode.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah. Now
now
it
it
is
is
visible.
changing. It is
Yes,
changing.
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Perfect.
Thank you so much. So thank you, Dr. Tanu, for arranging this webinar and allowing us to listen to so interesting talks previously. And I think every one of the speakers have echoed the same concept that in their previous presentations, that we need sustainable development and sustainable approach for managing or restoring our wetlands. So as we all know that on this World Wetlands Day, the theme of this year is the time for wetlands restoration. So the focus of my talk would be how we can have consider it as a socio-ecological system, and what approaches we should use for managing, for restoring our wetlands. So I will present two of my experiences, that is one from Manipur. As an expert committee member, we had as an socioeconomic expert, I got this opportunity to understand the dynamics of the ecological system of Loktak Lake and the settlements around it. Secondly, there is another case of our Bhoj wetland. I'm from Bhopal, so of course, this is a pride to have a big wetland sitting at the center of the city, and the whole city has developed around it. So, and which is an amazing ecosystem that we have, and the issues we face are same, the pressures of urbanization. So there are two cases which I'm going to present. One is a rural case, a rural setting where a wetland is placed, and an urban setting where Bhoj wetland is placed. So we all know by now that wetlands are a distinct ecosystem that is flooded and saturated by water, either permanently or seasonally. So one of the main aspects that we should keep in mind is that its variability. So wetland, after monsoons, it may be flooded with water. Before monsoons, it may have a marshy land. So this variability became again is the unique characteristics of wetland, as well as it makes or poses a very challenging, poses a challenge for us to manage when your boundaries are not defined. So this becomes a very unique problem to manage the wetlands because its boundaries are not defined. And in fact, that is the uniqueness of a wetland, is because its boundaries will change seasonally. It will sometimes have water, it will not have water. But even if it does not have water all the time, it is supporting a very valuable ecosystem, both flora and fauna. So on this wetland day, the theme of how to restore the wetlands and the urgency of restoring the wetlands again highlight that we need an integrated approach to restore this wetland, because just thinking about ecological concepts, we will not be able to restore it completely. So it is a nexus between society, the ecology, as well as governance. So until and unless we have a strong governance system, we will not be able to protect it. So coming to case of Bhoj wetland, as we have seen that this city has, you can see from the image above in the right corner upper side, that this is the Bhopal in the brown color, and there is a 31 square kilometer spread of this Bhoj wetland, and which supports unique ecosystem. And it came under Ramsar Convention in 2002. But since it was a man-made wetland made by Raja Bhoj, and the current issue, which is actually not allowing us to have a development plan of the area, is because the urbanization pressure is so much around the wetland, and as rightly pointed out by Dr. Abhilasha Bhavsa, that when we are trying to protect or restore this wetland, we have to work on its catchment area. Until unless we have strict regulations, until unless we have strict guidelines to manage its whole catchment area, its tributary, we will not be able to manage a wetland. And this is what the problem we are having, that it has been, as a planner, I'm an urban planner, and I have seen that since 20 years or more than 20 years, we do not have a development plan of the city, because if there is a development plan, then the whole area, the surrounding area of the Bhoj wetland will be regulated, and there will be restrictions on development. So what is happening currently is there are agricultural land converted into very fast into built up areas, and the whole area, which is a very fragile ecologically, is being converted into built up area. So one of my so, and also additional to its ecology, we also have seen that it provides a very provide very important services to its people surrounding it, to the villages, like fishing, drinking water, agriculture waste, recreation. So Bhoj wetland also is one of the very important recreational spot, recreational area for the city. It provides drinking water to 40% of the population, as well as fishing. And you can see the Singhada farming is also a very important, which supports the livelihood of a lot of population surrounding it. So one of my PhD scholar and myself, we started working on how and what changes we can see using the satellite images to around the Bhoj wetland. And what we found was, if you see the decadal changes like 1990, 2000 and 2020, and we found there has been an tremendous increase of the built up area around the wetlands. The barren area has also increased, and the agriculture area has considerably dropped. So this again indicates the pressure of urbanization around the wetlands. So another case which I want to present is Loktak Lake of Manipur. It has a complete, a very pristine setting. So it is nestled in between the hills of Manipur. And as you can see in the picture, that Loktak Lake has forest areas surrounding it, and a number of settlements are dotted along the Loktak. And this Loktak has been called the Ima, or the mother of Manipur. So it is also the biggest freshwater lake in India, and which covering around 250 square kilometer. As I said, the area, the boundaries keep changing, and it has a very peculiar ecosystem with fumdis. It is called fumdis, with a floating mass of vegetation on the lake surface. So this is again a very unique characteristics of Loktak Lake, that fumdis were formed naturally earlier, but with the demand, with the demand of fishing, the fumdi areas has been continuously increasing, and there has been change in its typologies of these fumdis. So, but the important aspect which I want to share here is that Loktak is also a very important heritage importance area for Manipur. So there is a cultural which is being associated with Loktak. The Manipurs have a very strong traditional association with this lake, with this wetland, and they had been traditionally fishing, growing vegetables in these in this wetland, and that has been since ages has been the reason of the prosperity in the whole area. So this has Loktak came under Ramsar Convention in 1990 under the National Wetland Development Program, but also it because of its degrading state, it also came in Monterey Record in 1992, which again indicates that it is a degrading system, and there is an urgency to protect it. So analysis of the land use pattern, again, if we look into, you can see the red areas. These are the settlements that are surrounding the Loktak Lake. And there has been, if you see that there has been continuous increase of the settlements around the Loktak, and there has been a decrease in fumdis. The typical characteristics of Loktak, fumdis is the thick vegetation that floats on the Loktak Lake, and this has reduced. The thickness has been reduced. So let us see what has happened. The thing that has happened is 1983, till 1983, it was a wetland with, as I said, the continuous water level which used to change during the year. But there was a barrage in 1983 that was commissioned to provide the it was a part of hydroelectrical electric project, and which actually entirely, you can see at the end of the Loktak Lake, and entirely disturb the biodiversity, hydrology, and cultural roots of Manipur. Because once there was a barrage that was created on its banks, the water level never reduced. The water level remained the same. And if this water level remained the same, the unique characteristics, the ecological characteristics of the Loktak Lake was disturbed, because there was a particular thickness of biomass that was needed needed for give it to show its uniqueness, as well as there is another very important supporting fisheries, migratory fishes. It also has a national park. The national park has a Shanghai deer, which is an endangered species, and it is only found in the on the Fumdis, that particular thickness of the Fumdis in that particular area of Loktak. So with the decreasing thickness, the Shanghai deer lost its habitat. So there were many changes that happened because of this barrage that was created in 1983. So as you can see, the socioeconomic profile, the literacy rate is very low. That is below, it is around 50% literacy in the nearby areas. And most of the areas are, most of the people, like almost 50% are non-workers and dependent only on the fisheries. So when they are only dependent upon fisheries, they have very limited source of livelihood, and then and the pressure on the Loktak will continue to increase. So as you can see, this is what is the Fumdi that plays an important role in maintaining the ecological process and functions of the this particular lake ecosystem. So this were the original rings that was formed in the Loktak Lake, and with the increase of water level and with the increase of the demand of fishing, the people started, the local settlements or local villagers started creating themselves man-made rings for fishing inside this Fumdis. And this is again the biodiversity aspect which I was mentioning, that because it has a very important interrelated biomes of wetland and forest, it was also critical to very several migratory birds, as well as this endangered deer, that is Shanghai deer. And currently there is a festival also going on in Manipur to show the importance, to make the importance, to realize the importance of this Shanghai deer, and its and how we can save this particular endangered species. So again, the aspect of livelihood insecurity, because this is one of the floating villages of Manipur, or the Loktak Lake, where the floating villagers, the villagers have to travel a long distance, around 4 to 5 kilometers to their huts, floating huts, and the only source of livelihood is fishing. They do not have access of drinking water, no sanitation facility, no schools and hospital. So slowly this social system is also disintegrating, because the younger generation often moves out and goes to the city, and only a particular elderly population is remaining in the villages, floating villages of this Loktak Lake. So where are the solutions? So we are talking about physical issues that the particular wetlands are facing. There are social issues, there are institutional issues, and all these three can be can have a solution with an integrated approach. So of course, there has been always a trade-off between environment and development goals, as we have seen in Bhoj wetland, and as we have seen in the case of Loktak, that there was a need of livelihood, which is creating the pressures. Whereas in Bhopal wetland, Bhoj wetland in Bhopal, there was need of land, because slowly the area needed for to habitat or to increase the built-up area has been continuously increasing around the wetland. So land is a very important resource, and slowly the area which was so ecologically sensitive is getting converted into a built-up area. So now, to develop a roadmap, last year there was a workshop by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, MOAFCC, and they organized a national workshop for developing a roadmap for participatory conservation and wise use of wetlands. So, and in this, there were 157 participants, which included the wetland managers from different managers from international and national importance, 24 representatives from state and union territory wetland authorities, corporates, even corporates were present because they also have a stake in the whole participation in the management of the wetlands. Then there were 13 wetland champions, and they were actually awarded during this workshop. NGOs, knowledge partners, etc. And of course, we were also, as an expert from National Wetland Committees, were also present in this workshop. And the whole idea of sustainable development revolves around the participatory approach, and the emphasis was the Sahbhagita, or bridging the science policy action divide to have a participatory approach or stakeholder consultation. So building convergence with conservation and development plans and programs at various levels, enabling participatory governance environment, and then bridging the science policy action divide to support Sahbhagita. So that was the key word around which the whole workshop happened. And in these two examples also, I would show you how this stakeholder consultation and participatory approach is the solution for restoring our wetlands. So there is a local environment, there is local people, and then there are cultural practices, institutions, then there are climate and natural factors that have that create a local environment. So when we start interlinking these social systems and ecological systems, then we can, when we start looking into a socio-ecological system, then only we can come out with the solution. And this is what the long-term perspective plan it was proposed, that we proposed that there should be a continuous stakeholder consultation where we list out the ecosystem services. So we have listened in Dr. Deshmukh's talk, as well as in various talks before, that how how wetland provide an ecosystem services. So until unless we have an accounting of ecosystem services along with the stakeholders, we will never be able to assess its vulnerability. So we have to involve stakeholders for assessing the ecosystem services, and then we have to involve stakeholders for constructing a vision as well. And there has to be a trade-offs and backcasting. That means there should be a to and fro system. So when we are creating a vision, it should again go back. We should backcast and see how this vision would help us to preserve or to support the ecosystem services that wetland supports. So we have to understand the drivers, validate it, and prioritize action with the help of stakeholder consultation. So there are 3 stages that we propose. One is accounting, constructing a vision, and then again doing a trade-offs, what is more important, and deciding the priorities for the action. So there was regular consultation that we had to understand the issues and the ethnicity that is associated with the wetlands. And one of the solutions that we had was the declaring it as an ecotourism homestay. So in which the people who are only dependent on the fisheries will be able to have another source of livelihood. They will be engaged because they are the best person who knows this ecosystem, the lake ecosystem, promotion of their culture, dance, etc. And then capacity building through tourism, because we also want to promote it, the ecology of this unique wetland systems. And also again engaging them in cleaning, catchment area activities, afforestation, check dams, etc. So role of local community is the most important in protecting the wetlands, and that can only be done, like I said, Sahbhagita, or including them in the whole vision of protecting the wetlands. So again, as we have already talked about the importance of carbon sequestration and how we can gain the carbon credits. This was again another way of controlling this, which we feel is important, is the wise use of not only the wetlands, but the catchment. So this is how we actually identified how over the years the built up area has been increasing, and how it is so important to create the buffers around the wetland and to have a strict regulation in its influence zone. As Dr. Abhilash also said, that we have to have strict regulations in its catchment area. And lastly, there are other initiatives like Wetland Mitra, Wetland Health Cards, which again will help us to actually monitor its status as well as do the conservation initiatives. And lastly, what we suggest is to have a multi-objective decision making, which involves different stakeholders, different institutions, and have a feedback system in which we can have strengthening of implementation of participatory planning, communication with the multi-stakeholders, and also having a different understanding of the socio-ecological complex setting of wetlands. And then only we will be doing justice with the decision making. Thank you. So this is what the picture shows, is the Shanghai deer habitat where we try to jump. It is a sponge which is created by the fungus, and the habitat which is slowly thinning, and because of which the whole habitat has been slowly degrading. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such informative and the interesting address.
And Dr. Surabhi, there is one question, one or two questions, please. Jayati will. Yeah.
Yes, surely.
Okay, ma'am, so we have two questions.
Yeah.
How can we prevent the wind erosion and dust in dry wetlands?
How can we have actually once when wind erosion and dust? Okay. So of course there are other experts in our panel who can actually suggest in a better way, but what my understanding says is to understanding the local ecology is very important, and once the local ecology is understood with the vegetation, with appropriate afforestation in its catchment area, we will be able to actually control the dust as well as the wind erosion, because as it was discussed earlier also, the riparian zone is very important. So once we understand the riparian zones and we identify the suitable vegetation, we will be able to actually control the soil erosions also, and also strengthen the soil and have a nature-based solution, to preserve or to strengthen its embankments and control the dust as well as. So vegetation provides multiple benefits, and this is the cheapest nature-based solution that we can have to both control soil as well as dust.
Thank you, ma'am.
Another question?
Yes, ma'am. Another question is, what type of socio-economic survey can be carried out near wetlands?
So what kind of socio-economic surveys
can be carried out near wetlands?
Yeah. It is very important. And until and unless we understand the association of the society with the wetland, we will not be able to do justice with the ecology of the area, because we also is a part of an ecosystem. So we have to do household surveys. We can have a sample, create a sample, but it should be a representative sample which covers all communities. There are different types of communities which are actually associated with the wetlands. There are different stakeholders, and one of the best way which I understood is doing a focused group discussions. So we can invite people from focus groups, from representing, say, village settlements, NGOs, corporates, and have a complete discussion with them. and what are their concerns, what are their worries. And once we have this focus group discussions, we can come out with the issues, and then we can go for socioeconomic surveys at local level, household levels. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Surbi. Wonderful. I thoroughly, yeah, each and everything you explained in a very nice manner with the particular case studies. And in fact, I would like to ask
Mhm.
you what kind of projects can be proposed in that area where you have worked?
Yeah, there are various, because even from the government side, there are different projects that are floated, like DST projects, which are focused on the capacity building, for example, doing workshops, and how even small component, like one of the scientists who is working from the Manipur University is that these fumdis, that the floating biota can be, because we have to clean it, can be clean it and convert it as a fuel, because they what he is doing is he is converting into that blocks which can be used as a fuel for cooking, etc. So as well as how we can use it as a manure, how we can, so there are many opportunities that we have, even if in-depth scientific analysis of each aspects, we can have create a project. So there is huge opportunities scientifically, socially also, like capacity building, as well as in I am a spatial planner. So how we can use satellite images to identify and monitor these wetlands. That is again another area where we can, as a project, work on.
Okay. In fact, there is also need to identify more livelihood opportunities during near these
Yes, yes,
wetlands.
very truly. And
On the basis,
when I visited Manipur, I saw they have a very different, unique skill set, like making bamboo. The bamboo which you get from there is a bamboo rusk, which is very thick bamboo, and they are making very good products using that bamboo rusk, which they have, and that is local to that area. So that they can also be involved, but the problem which they face is the seed money, or funds to start a business, to
okay.
start and capacity building, because so that they can have other sources of livelihood and not dependent on fishing and putting pressures on the lakes.
Yeah, I think there are some more extension workshops also required. Like
Hmm.
taking example of other parts of the world where
Hmm.
these wetlands are being, used in very good livelihood source and also development of socio economy. I
Hmm.
think there is a repository, there is a list also need to be prepared all over the world and around the wetland. What
Hmm.
are the other livelihood opportunities are there?
Opportunities, very
So,
truly said. Yeah, like
so
we've identified ecotourism as one of the livelihood opportunity. So it
yeah.
could be context based, but we should have a repository, as you said, ki what are the opportunities we don't know, and
Hmm.
what people are doing in
All
other
over the
ways.
globe. Yeah,
Yeah,
all
all
over
over
the
the.
globe. So I think in making that would further help, in
Hmm.
taking case studies from one to other place.
Hmm. And it will also help us to achieve the SDG goal, sustainable development goals of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, true. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Dr. Surbi, uh, hello.
Yes.
Yeah. So one more thing I have on my mind. Besides livelihood opportunities, I think for impact of climate is also need to be studied.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Because
Exactly.
because of the heat and global warming, climate change. So like here, for glacier melting, it
Hmm.
has been predicted, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Nobody has worked on what is the impact on diminishing of these wetlands.
Exactly. So
Hmm.
one of the recent publication that we had with my scholar was ki how wetland is actually creating cool island in Bhopal city, because all the cities have heat islands, but
Hmm.
because we have a wetland at the center of Bhopal, we are experiencing a cool island because it has cooling effect in the temperatures.
Okay. Okay, cool islands. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice. That's nice. Yeah, in fact. And the thirdly, one more point is coming to my mind, repository of livelihood, impact of climate change on wetland, and also, what is the mode of making new wetlands? I mean, for that also we need to make a repository, like what are the areas which can be
Hmm.
converted into
Into
wetlands?
wetlands. Actually,
So,
then we can have a very use of scientific analysis of where the drainages are, where are the that would feed a wetland or a water body, and we can have a spatio-temporal analysis over the years.
hmm.
Earlier they were there existing, but now they are not existing. So
Hmm.
that way we can identify
Hmm.
the areas which can be restored as wetlands.
Absolutely. And lastly, what you would like to say about, many wetlands are highly polluted with plastic waste and many other things. So, like, how this can be stopped? You
This
spoke
is
about very clean wetland in Manipur, but
yeah.
it's not the case in many of the areas
Uh,
in North
no, but
India.
yeah, this is Manipur also has very much big issue of pollutants from the Imphal, that is the urban area, which has been
Hmm.
discharged, discharged from Imphal to this lake. So the water quality is very bad. The water quality, and because of which also these hundis are being getting increased, or the biota has been increased. So that is an issue everywhere, I would say. And until and unless we bring the awareness how important it is, and now we should also look into scientifically cleaning it, because few last December I was in ISC Bangalore, in which one of the professors actually indicated how we can have a nature based solution of cleaning these wetlands. And of
Hmm.
course
Hmm.
solid waste we cannot help, we have to
Hmm.
educate, we can have to
Hmm.
educate them, create awareness to stop it. But other sewage, we need to have biosanitization techniques
Hmm.
would be.
Hmm. 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 Wonderful. In fact, your talk has, arose many new ideas, new questions, and to reply to them, I think they will turn into very good projects to carry out.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out time for our deliberation. We have a few more questions for our other speakers as well. Ma'am, with your permission, can I address those questions? Can I take those questions?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so there is another question, which is, what are the methods of carbon sequestration monitoring in wetlands and water ecosystems? If Dr. Abhilasha or Mr. Tarun can answer those questions.
Abhilasha, would you like to answer it?
So please go ahead, sir. Please go ahead.
So again, if you want to increase the carbon sink potential of a wetland, the health of the wetland has to be increased. So actually, one of the reason is that encroachment of lands, especially sometimes the feeder canals are blocked, which are entering the wetlands. In some cases, due to various reasons, the siltation happens. So if you properly maintain the ecosystem, if various parameters are there for maintaining the ecosystem, and all the can be properly managed, and we create a proper health of the ecosystem, automatically the sink carbon sequestration is improved.
Okay, great. Yeah. So, I was when having these webinars, that is the, best part of it, that many ideas come out, and there is lot to be done. We still realize that, especially in the case of wetlands, I think very less work has been done for water conservation, and because these are very specialized kinds of land which, takes into account terrestrial as well as water. So a specialized kind of projects and outcomes can be made. Please go ahead with the next question, Jayanti.
Um, Is there any design guideline for constructed floating wetlands?
Dr. Abhilasha, would you like to answer? Because I will speak
Yes,
later.
Jyoti, can you please repeat the question,
Okay,
please?
ma'am. Is there any design guideline for constructed floating wetlands?
Constricted wetlands, no?
Yes.
Floating wetlands.
Floating
Cluster.
wetlands. Okay, okay. So this is really very nice question, and many cities have adopted various designs as per the design of their wetlands. Okay, so I will just say there is no one particular design, right? The design of the floating wetlands depend on the what should I say, on the local conditions. I cannot say just go and use this method to construct the wetlands, because so far in India also lot of people are working in the field of construction of floating wetlands, right? And they are basically from engineering. Most of them are engineers, and most of them are from the sociology field, right? So they are using scientific base, but there is no, I don't think, as far as I know, there is no uh, uh, prescribed guidelines. Okay, are you getting me? Like we can say that you have to assess like you have to use APHA for physicochemical properties, you have to use this for a particular type of like microbial parameters, I can say, right? But there is no particular design for floating wetlands. If Surbhi ma'am can add it to it, because this is what I came across, that people design local floating wetlands as per the requirement and as per the local available conditions. Am I right, Surbhi ma'am?
I'm not aware of it, because what I was mentioning was the floating villages on the wetlands, not floating wetlands.
Okay. No, ma'am, I'm telling you, I have been through I have seen lot of floating vegetables and floating wetlands, and I was trying to get that if there is any particular method, is there any particular engineer design which we can use, which we can implement, which we can propose for any person who is willing to have a floating wetland. But I couldn't find any such. Although what I observed, what I saw in the floating wetlands of MP, in the floating wetlands of Gurgaon or the New Delhi area, they have their different type of designs. So I will not say ki there is particular design, but yes, I can say you that if you will Google or if you search, you will find lot of designs. You'll find lot of designs. So you have to manipulate it, you have to adjust it as per according to your local ecological conditions.
Yeah, thank you.
Because the reason is sometimes weeds are there, okay, sometimes other things are there. So depending on the ecological parameters, the design of floating wetlands is decided, or it come with some innovative design itself.
Yeah. In fact, thank you so much. In fact, I would like to mention, Jayati, we have been working with University of Southern Adelaide on floating wetland design. So we have already designed floating wetlands, and a company also has been contacted in Australia to commercialize those floating wetlands. And we are trying to bring such project in India as well. They are already running that project in University of Southern Adelaide. So, that project is still, in initial stages. So what we are, we are trying to build sustainable floating wetlands. So maybe I will share those details. We have a design of that, and we are also, for phytoremediation technologies also we are using in these floating wetlands. In fact, for past 1 year we have been working with them, and a particular design has also been, chopped out, and for the cleaning of the, wetland water. Yeah. So very, very good question in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Very wonderful if you have figured it out how to do it. That would be really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I think one project also need to be filed on that. And once we get the project, we can implement that in, first we will do in Delhi NCR, then later on it can be replicated in other parts of the India. Yeah. Yeah, please, Jayati. Next, please.
There's one last question. If a wetland is declared as a Ramsar site, what can be the attached benefits and liabilities for the host country?
Yeah. Mr. Tarun, can you? Yeah, or Abhilasha, Dr. Abhilasha, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to say many things about it because we all have must seen lot of Ramsar sites. Agree, right? You have seen, okay. But tell me honestly, have you seen or have you found them the very clear picture of the water? Do you really feel that it deserves to be declared as a Ramsar site? See, I'm just saying it out of, I'm not blaming anything. I'm just saying as a environmental student, I'm saying this. When we visit any Ramsar site, we have a lot of expectations from that site that we are going to see very transparent of water, lot of fishes and birds and whatnot there. But have any of you has experienced those things in any Ramsar site in India? No, yeah, same. Everybody will say the same answer. Even I'm in of the same category. No, this is not the case, right? So, as far as the liability, actually, after declaration of that Ramsar site, the liability of a common man or the layman starts. Okay, like what we are doing, we have in our city Bhopal, we have a Ramsar site that is Bhoj wetland. Okay, right. So what we are doing is when we do a little dissertation program over that water body, so people come and say, oh, lot of work is done over that water body and it is already Ramsar site. What is their need to assess the physico-chemical property of water or the biological diversity inside it? See, it has been declared Ramsar site, so it becomes our duty, it's become our moral or the environmental duty to for its continuous assessment, right? The continuous assessment for its water quality and for its biodiversity has to be done by the local academic institutions, okay? And if you want to preserve or conserve the pristine status of that water body, so continuous monitoring that includes the physicochemical, biological, and other riparian aspects of that wetland has to be done regularly. It is not like that it is declared as Ram site and it's never going to be polluted. It is not like that. Okay, then comes our duty that we are not allowed to dump the garbage directly into it, to polythenes into it, and yes, then we have to treat it as a Ramsar site. The image that we have in our mind that yes, this should be the pristine wetland. So
But
yes,
I would, but I
our
would add
liability.
to it. Yeah, but I would add to it, once it is declared a Ramsar site, at least there is a liability on the local authorities.
Exactly,
There is,
exactly.
if once it has been declared as a Ramsar, it has a governance protocol which has been set that it has to be followed. Although it is not on ground, reality may be different, but it gets that status which needs to which it needs for interventions.
And for that, local government is also responsible.
Local
If you will
government,
go and tell them this is Ramsar site, then they'll have to come to you.
They
They'll
have to.
have to
So we
listen
have
you.
state wetland authorities, and then they, once it is declared a Ramsar, then that it becomes definitely, once the responsibility is entrusted to the local authority, they will take care. Otherwise, they will not even take care of it. So, and
Yeah.
even you get lot of projects also. Once it is Ramsar, you get funding, maybe national, international funding also get streamlined for its protection.
Yeah. Thank you so much for such wonderful, discussion and also reply to the query of the students. We have Dr. D.K. Bandyopadhyay with us. He is Chief Advisor to Founder President Office and also Mentor of Environment Domain. So welcome, sir, and we welcome you. And I'm thankful to you for sparing your valuable time and joining us. Over to Richa. Kindly welcome Dr. Bandyopadhyay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for such an informative and the interesting address. The wetlands act as a buffer protecting the coast from flooding and storms. The wetlands also provide an ecosystem that is biologically diverse and is home to a variety of species of animals and insects. Now we have Dr. D.K. Bandyopadhyay, Chief Advisory, FPO, Chairman, Amity Law School, Amity University, to share his views on today's webinar. Welcome, sir.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tonu. So who are the speaker? Richa, achiever
Welcome,
of
sir.
student. Okay, thank you very much. At the outset, I must congratulate, AISTM and Dr. Tonu Jundal for, celebrating the Wetland Day today. And essentially, this fragile ecosystem and which are declining in most part of the world. I mean, we have to remember it because we are just now listening at the fragment of our discussion that, floating wetland and how to really, identify it and how to really protect them. Now, all of us know that, these wetlands is essentially, it controls the floods, replacing groundwater. It also protects biodiversity and also provide livelihood to local population. And the observation of Wetland Day is meant to improve public awareness about the importance of the wetland. So all of us know that, you have already discussed it. Maybe I'll be repeating it. So it's the first time in February 2nd, 1997, this was celebrated on the 16th anniversary of the Ramsar Convention on Wetland Day, because we have to, I do not know whether it has been already talked about it or not. So we must know the genesis of the day. Now today, and it has got more than 135 members, and they are actually they have signed that environment treaty dealing with this particular ecosystem. Now today, when we see that this convention aims at the conservation and use of wetland as a means to achieving sustainable development throughout the world. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals presented the opportunity to reposition the importance of the wetlands not only as a critical natural resource, but also as an essential component of the human well-being, inclusive economic goal, and climate mitigation and adaptation. Now, I like to say that, how the wetland is actually giving us for achieving the 17 SDG goals. So how it is, so SDG goal 1, no poverty. More than 1 billion people depend on wetlands for a living. So if we can improve it, then essentially we will be able to give, more billions of people, to provide, to come out of the poverty line. Now, Sustainable Development Number Goal 2, zero hunger. Now, rice grown in wetlands paddles in the staple diet of 3.5 billion people. Now, how do we really sustain it? These 3.5 billion people who are sustaining and who are actually out of the zero hunger through these wetlands only. So the wetlands, now you can see that the conservation and the maintenance of the wetlands, how SDG is very, very important. SDG goal is very, very important to sustain that. Now, SDG 3, that is the good health and well-being. Most important is good health and well-being. That here, half of the international tourists seek relaxation in wetland areas, especially in the coastal zones. So the coastal, wetland is also a source of, good health and well-being. Now we have to maintain and sustain that, wetland. Now, sustainable goal number 4, quality education. And this, how wetland is providing quality education. Now, safe water access enhances educational opportunities, especially for the girls. So we know that in Rajasthan, the people have to walk so much of distance in terms of fetching the, safe drinking water. So wetland provides that type of, facilities. So how do you really maintain it? Now, SDG goal number 5, gender equality. So women play a central role in the provision, management, and safeguarding of water. So wetland providing the water also helps us to bring the gender equality. Now SDG goal number 6, clean water and sanitation. Almost all of the world's consumption of fresh water is drawn either directly or indirectly from wetlands. So clean water and sanitation. So wetland, how important it is in terms of achieving sustainable goal number 6. Now sustainable goal number 7, affordable and clean energy. Now sustainable upstream water management can provide affordable and clean energy. We know that, through this, hydropower, the clean energy can be generated, and this is again upstream clean energy management. So goal number 8, decent work and economic growth. Decent work and economic growth. Now wetland sustained 266 million jobs in wetland tourism and travel. Now look, and this can be also enhanced to not only to sustain it, but also it can be enhanced to in terms of economic growth. Now SDG goal number 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure. Healthy wetlands from a natural buffer against the increasing number of natural disasters. This again, it's a buffer. It works as a buffer. Then SDG goal number 10, reduced inequality. So healthy wetlands mitigate the risk of estimated 5 billion people living with poor access of water by 2050. So unless and until we take care of this wetland, what is the greater risk is going to be. Now sustainable cities and communities. Now urban wetlands play a vital role in making cities safe, resilient and sustainable. SDG goal number 12, responsible consumption and production. Wetland areas properly managed can sustainably support increased demands for water in all sectors. Now climate action, sustainable goal number 13. Now we can see that the peatlands cover only 3% of the global land, but store twice as much as carbon as the entire world's forest biomass. This is the most important thing. Now, if we go to goal number 14, life below water. Healthy and productive oceans rely on well functioning of coastal and marine wetlands. Goal number 15, life on land. So 40% of the world's species live and breed in wetlands. 40% of the world species. Goal number 16, peace, justice, and strong institution. Effective management of transboundary wetland contributes to peace and security. And this is now an world problem. Now, if we really want to get peace, justice, and strong institution, we have to effectively come out with water management of the transboundary wetlands. Sustainable goal number 17, partnerships for the goals. The Ramsar Convention works in partnership with other MES to support government in achieving the SDG. So you can see that the wetland, how the wetland actually contributes in achieving the 17 SDG goal. So I tried to just give that framework in providing that. So I think this I wanted to tell, and once again I must congratulate our environment science, environment studies department, environmental toxicology department for celebrating, I would say celebrating this water day, because it is now so important, and every sustainable goal, it is all depending upon the wetland. So once again, thank you very much. Thanks for the participants. And I could see the large number of participants, they are just attending it. There are about 61 now. Even just now I see that it is 5:30, but even then people are sitting over there. So it indicates how importance we give to our wetlands. And we must celebrate, and we must remind to ourselves that unless until we protect it, unless and until we actually maintain it, unless and until we create further wetlands, then it may create our problem, and sustainable goal will be very difficult to achieve. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. In fact, there were over 100 participants in the webinar, and very good recommendations, new ideas for projects, and new connections have come. I wish you would have been the part of our discussions, but thank you so much for aligning all the 17 SDG goals so beautifully with wetland conservation and importance of wetland. In fact, when I started with around 6 SDG goals, but aligning all 17 with them is in a beautiful manner and in a very worthy manner. Thank you so much. And I was just listening, continuously about it. And that is the idea of doing such webinars, that we bring all the think tanks, all the experts who are into this area, and the previous speakers, all speakers have given very wonderful case studies and ideas. Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh, from their practical experience of their life and their work, from field. Dr. Rajesh, Mr. Tarun, Abhilasha, Dr. Surbi, they all. I wish you would have been there, but I will share the minutes of the discussion and very good strategies. And I would like to inform you that we are already working on floating wetlands. Thank you, sir.
Thank
And,
you. Thank you very much, Tanu. Thank you.
yeah, and over to. We also organized a poster competition with the
Oh,
help of
great.
all institutes in the domain wildlife, forestry, environment science, natural resources. So, if you would like to show a PowerPoint of that competition and the winners. Chaiti, please read out about the things.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us. Moving ahead, we had organized a poster making competition for the entire NRES domain. A number of students participated in it. Here are some glimpses of the competitions.
And they have, painted over T-shirts. They have painted over white sheets.
Yes.
Yeah, very nice.
And finally, the
Yeah.
winners. Yeah. So
Dr. Asti
winners.
Singh and Dr. Vartika has judged the poster, and Dr. Sujit Kumar has, taken lead, and Dr. Randeep has, and Dr. Namika, they have really supported it, bringing all the students. So I am grateful to them. Can you announce the winners?
Winner is Mr. Ashish Yadav, AIFW. Runner-up, first runner-up, Prajwal and team, AIFW. And second runner-up, students of Amity Institute of Environmental Science. Congratulations to all.
Yeah, thank you. And certificate will be given to all participants and the winners as well.
The primary reason to celebrate this day is to raise awareness about the importance of the wetlands and remind everyone of the many ways it benefits this earth. With such wonderful words of knowledge, I would now like to invite Dr. Abhishek Chauhan, Senior Scientist, AIETSM, to offer vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. So good evening to one and all. It's my privilege to offer word of thanks and acknowledge each and every person involved in virtual deliberation on sustainable system to conserve wetlands under the aegis of Amity Global Warming and Climate Change Cluster. So first of all, we are immensely grateful to our Honorable Founder President Sir, Dr. Soke Chauhan, for his blessing and motivation to carry out such important program. A special thanks goes to Honorable Chancellor Sir, Dr. Tul Chauhan, Honorable Vice Chancellor Madam, Professor Balwinder Shukla, for their great support and encouragement. I would also like to thank Professor D.K. Bandyopadhyay Sir, Chief Advisor FPO, Mentor Amity Institute of Environmental Sciences, for his views on the subject. I would also like to thank our eminent speakers for gracing this virtual deliberation and sharing us their finding opinions. Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh, Professor of Life Sciences, University of Mumbai. Dr. Rajesh, Professor, Department of Environmental Sciences, MD, University Rohtak. Mr. Tarun, Scientist, F, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Dr. Abhilasha, Assistant Professor, Department of Environmental Sciences, and Dr. Surbhi, Assistant Professor, Department of Architecture and Planning, Manit, Bhopal. All the speakers for the day delivered intellectual talk and they shared their knowledge. We are extremely grateful to each one of them. Our thanks goes to our mentor, Professor Tanuj Jindal, Group Additional Pro Vice Chancellor, R&D and Director, Amity Institute of Environmental Toxicology, Safety and Management, for her constant support, guidance throughout the preparation of this event. I would also like to thank all the participants, scientists, technologists, academicians, research scholars, UG/PG students, those who have participated in poster presentation. I would like to thank each one of them. I also like to thank the faculty members of our NRES domain, all the staff for their support to making this program a successful one. Special thanks to our office staff, Mr. Rajat, Mr. Vikram, Mariama Joseph, Madam. Last but not the least, a very warm gratitude to IT department, media team for providing this platform for this event. With this, once again, I would like to thank all of you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek, for naming everyone. But I would also like to thank all the faculty members of our NRES domain, Dr. Karthike, Mr. Satish, and Dr. Amrina, Dr. Vartika, Dr. Sujit, Dr. Randeep. In fact, everyone, I would say, and all PhD scholars, who have contributed, have come in no time to organize such wonderful wetland day. Thank you all, and we would like to close the webinar.
IT team, now we can close the session.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Namaskar.